tal, mis amores? Welcome to another video with me. I'm really excited about this video. We're going to be talking about why representation in the media matters for Afro Latinx people, for Black people, and we're going to get right into it. So let's get started. This is not going to be so much of a structured video. It's going to be more of a rant. I've been feeling some type of way lately about representation in the media and the attention we've been getting on how it feels good, but it's not enough. I just want people to understand how and why this is so important to me. If people, especially children, don't see themselves represented in the media, they're gonna think that what it does is it erases the existence of some people, and it makes people think that we don't exist when there are millions of us. So let's talk about Afro Latinx representation in US media. There isn't much to talk about because it doesn't really exist. There are Afro Latinx people that are actors and actresses. I can name some a few off the top of my head. I can name a few off the top of my head. Amara La Negra, Celia Cruz. You see, Zoe Saldana. Oh, I'm just going to say right off the bat, they're represented as African American. They're represented as Black, but not specifically as Afro-Latino. And I'm going to tell you why that's important. It's because we're not African American, right? We are Black, but there is a difference. I'm not saying we're better or we're worse. I'm saying we're different and we exist. Calling us or grouping us in the same group as African American denies our existence, because it's lumping us in a group where I don't mind being in that group. And I think that's where the divide comes, and I understand it from Black people in America. I don't mind being in that group, but I would like to have my own group because I speak Spanish. I listen to different music. I eat different food. My parents are from a different country. I watch different movies. I grew up listening to different people. The politics in my country are different. I'm from a third world country. I come from a country riddled with war. People are dying in my country. I have things to worry about that. And I know that a lot of people in America suffer through hunger and violence and things like that. I'm not saying it's not important to me. It is important to me because I live in this country. However, is it important to you? You as an African American watching this, and you who are saying, well, like, ew, why do you want to differentiate? That probably means you think you're better than us. What do you know about Colombia? What do you know about the struggles that Colombian African people are facing? Name one city in Colombia that is mostly of African descent. Name one. Name one state in Colombia. You don't know, do you? No. And I'm not saying that's completely your fault. It's not world news, but it's not your problem, right? Because it's not your people. It's my people. Hence why I would like to be represented, because my people's struggles are important and we exist and we're dying of violence and we're dying of hunger. And yes, we do need to put up a united front. You and me together would be much stronger than us apart. But what I need is for you, as a non-Afro Latinx Black person, to acknowledge that I exist, that my issues are different from yours, and they're just as important. Why it's important to differentiate between African Americans, Black people in America, in the US, and Afro Latinx Black people in the US. Okay, let's move on. I often feel like I have to pick a bandwagon to get on, right? And this has to do a little bit more with representation in the media, and I'll explain. So, Latino representation in the media in the US. It is all white Latinos. And by white Latinos, if you're confused about what a white Latino is, who a white Latino person is, if you right now, as you are, would be transported to 1750 Ecuador, Honduras, Puerto Rico, whatever, would you be taken to a slave plantation solely based on the color of your skin? I feel like that's the simplest way to put it to people who don't understand, who I'm telling them I'm Afro-Latino, and they're like, yeah, I have African blood too, like I'm not just white. Okay, would you be taken to a plantation if you were found? If this was the year 1750, would you be dragged away to a plantation? If you had just time warped, right? Let's say you time traveled into 1750 Puerto Rico or 1750 Colombia, 1750 DR. Would you be dragged back to a slave camp because you were black, and they would just be like, "What are you doing out of your quarters, of your slave quarters? Are you confused? Like, get in the wagon." I was gonna say car. Get in the wagon. We're going back. Okay, because I can tell you right away that I would be hauled back, right? Because I'm black. There's no hiding that I would probably, most likely, have been either related to the daughter of, the mother of, the sister of, the cousin of, or myself. I would have been a slave. If you are confused and you think, maybe not, or maybe you would have been a slave owner. That's how white. But let me tell you this, you're definitely not black. You can claim Afro-Latinidad. I'm not mad at that, especially if you're going to fight for us and defend us, but you're not black. Okay, so I just want to clarify that. Because some people are salty. Why can't I say the N-word? Some people are salty about that. Some Latinos that I tell that to, they're salty about that. I should be able to say the N-word. I'm not white. No, let me explain to you something, sweetheart. You're not white American from Kansas, directly descended from Scandinavians or Norwegians, but in Latin America, you are not black. So I hope that clarifies why you cannot say the N-word. Stop using it. Thank you. Something really interesting has happened since this new Black Panther movie came out. Latino people have been coming out saying, "Hey, where is our Black Panther?" I find this utterly hilarious, right? Because first of all, let black people have their moment. They deserve it. They just deserve it. And two, when it makes me think, when they're saying this, these celebrities, these Latin celebrities who are not dark skinned, who are not black, who are not Afro-Latino, are coming out and saying, "Where is our Black Panther? When is our Black Panther coming out? We need more representation." They are not talking about people who look like me. Not to say that we're included in African American representation or representations of black people in America, period. So this creates, for me, a very complicated situation. Or maybe not that complicated. Let's break it down. It makes me feel like I have to choose. And I've felt that way my whole life. Choose an affinity, right? Am I going to side with these white Latinos who are asking for more representation? Or am I going to side with black people in America who are so happy and so elated? And I mean, I went to see Black Panther and it was an amazing, awesome experience. And honestly, seeing people that look like me on a big screen and seeing how much money they're making and how this movie has united so many people is huge. And I honestly teared up at the movie. So it makes me feel like I have to choose. What bandwagon am I going to be on? And am I going to be sided with my fellow Latinos saying, "Yeah, where is our Latino movie?" Or am I going to side with the Africans, with African descendant people, with black people who are elated and really happy and just, this is our moment. But not really, it's not really our moment because I'm not sure if there are any Afro-Latinos in Black Panther. I don't think there are. Correct me if I'm wrong. Other than Lupita Nyong'o, which I'm not sure if she does. I've heard that she does identify as Latino because she was born in Mexico. Although she's from Kenyan descent, that doesn't mean she's not Afro-Latina. If she wants to identify, then that's perfectly fine with me. I accept that. I'm not mad at that. But I've also heard that she doesn't identify, that she identifies as African. Maybe she identifies as both, which I don't, there's not a problem with that either. You don't have to be one thing in this life. Always. You don't have to choose, I think, size. You can be both. She can be Afro-Latina and of African Kenyan descent. I believe her parents are from Kenya. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. But I don't think there are any other Afro-Latinos, and if there are, I don't know if that makes much of a difference. The point is, we're not represented here or there. This is why I made this channel, and this is why I feel like Afro-Latinx representation in the media is important, and we need more of it, right? When you think of Latin people in the media, you're not thinking of people like me, and that's not your fault. I'm not saying like start crying about it and like feel terrible about it, but then don't get mad when we're over here making our own space, making our own voices heard, and we keep talking about it, and we keep talking about it. People, I've heard things, especially with Amara La Negra, with her show on VH1, Love and Hip Hop, like, why does she keep bringing this up? Why does she keep talking about this? Like, why is it so important? Like, what do you mean, why is it so important? Because we're not seen anywhere. We're not in Latin media, and then we're also not in mainstream media. In the few spots that are given to people who are Black, we're not there. So here I am, here we are. And that's that. So with that said, to be perfectly honest with you, the first half of my life, or even further than that, even into college, my affinities were with Latin people, because that's what I was taught. Although I did grow up loving my skin and loving the color of my skin and things like that in my household, I still grew up to have an affinity, or to have my loyalties to Latin people, right? So if there are two groups of people, and if I had to choose, which I always did, my parents, the way I was raised, it was a no-brainer. I speak Spanish. I eat the same food as these people, even though they're white, or even though they're not, at least they're not Black. This is your people. And by that, it's Colombians or even Caribbean people. So go with that, right? Like, the whole thing for me was, in school, was, I didn't really feel like I had to choose between the African American table or the Latin table, because there were also other Afro-Latino people. Thank goodness. Usually my friends, my best friends, at least in my group of friends, there was at least one other Afro-Latino person. Usually they were from Dominican Republic. Not usually. All of my Afro-Latino friends are from Dominican Republic. But yeah, so I didn't feel like I had that divide. Thank goodness I grew up in New York, and there are some of us, there are a lot of us, like, culturally speaking, right? What am I going to wear? What am I going to talk like? What music am I going to listen to? I always chose the Latin side. And I'm not saying that was a bad thing, but I'm saying I wish there was a space where I can celebrate both, and where both of those things are acknowledged. And when I say both, I mean my African heritage, the fact that I am Black, that I do share all of these struggles with African Americans, with my African American brothers and sisters, but I am also Latin. And there are a lot of things that Latin people, even from Colombia, they won't understand, right? My struggle. They're not going to understand what it's like to be Black. They're not going to understand what it feels to be profiled. Not necessarily. Some do, and it has a lot to do with class and where we live. If you grew up in Queens, in some part of Queens, and you dress a certain way, even if you were white Latino, you were still going to get profiled, and especially if you were hanging around other Latinos. However, so I'm not saying that these people are not getting discriminated against, but it's not the same. Let me tell you, being Black in America is not the same as being a light-skinned Latino. It's not. You're not going to face the same level of discrimination in the workplace, of microaggressions, people trying to touch your hair. Just I can think of a list, and maybe I'll make a separate video of it, like story time. Like, you won't believe what this person told me. People who I grew up with, who I've known my whole life, I faced microaggressions from them my entire life, and including trying to touch my hair, telling me, you know, a lot of it has to do with my hair, but like about my appearance and how I'm a good black person, and just like microaggressions. You don't even know the half of it. And if you want to hear more about those microaggressions from white Latinos I grew up with, then let me know and I'll make a video. I'll air out that dirty laundry. I don't care. So it's not the same. And I wish there was a space where both things were celebrated and acknowledged and respected, and that's the space I'm trying to create here, and I'm always going to go back to that.